Kavanaugh. I'm going to read it to you. We're working to get it made on screen. This is literally 30 seconds ago, saying, this was on pass from the White House. Judge Kavanaugh says this is a completely false allegation. He says, I have never done anything like what the accuser describes to her or to anyone. He says, because this never happened, I had no idea who was making this accusation until she identified herself yesterday. Kavanaugh continues, I am willing to talk to the Senate Judiciary Committee in any way the committee deems appropriate to refute this false allegation from 36 years ago and to defend my integrity. Jeff.
Very strong statement rebutting what's coming from this alleged victim. And interesting, the timing as well. I mean, we spent a good chunk of yesterday waiting to hear something more definitive from the White House and from the judge. So this is suggesting where he's going, where the White House is going. It comes after Kellyanne Conway's comments outside the White House. I think you could sort of analyze her comments as well for the White House strategy broadly for this. She made a point of saying this woman should not be insulted, so she's trying to be very respectful. While also saying that it shouldn't affect greatly anyway the timing of this process going forward. So they clearly still want this to happen on Thursday, but they also want to give the judge a chance to refute these very difficult charges. And
we are working to get that statement for you up on the screen so you can read it. But again, the key points here from this new statement now, because again, we had reached out over the weekend, our White House team, our Capitol Hill teams going, hey, what are you guys going to do here? There were we gleaned. One, they resent the statement from Friday when this story first sort of started to surface, saying, well, unequivocal denial, but just that 1 or 2 sentence statement. And two, they said, we're not going to pull his nomination. They were unequivocal in that as well. Now we are hearing Brett Kavanaugh himself in a second news statement insist that this never happened, that everything that this woman, that Christine Blasey Ford is talking about simply did not exist. Let's talk about this, though, for a second here, because the Washington Post cites, for example, a polygraph test. They talk about how she told her therapist in 2012 and took notes, told her husband in 2002 and then again in 2012. This drinking allegation that she made was consistent with what Mark Judge has written about this friend of Brett Kavanaugh. On the other hand, she didn't talk about this until 2012, unless it was with her husband before that. She didn't have a memory of certain key details, for example, and a friend of Brett Kavanaugh's who was in the room apparently denied the incident as well. So there are pieces at play regarding what happened. Kavanaugh denies it, yet it seems clear we're going to hear from both of them, it seems, at some point in the near future.
And the stakes, frankly, couldn't be higher. I mean, this is happening at a time where he is up for a lifetime appointment, rather. You know, so when you think about that, it is just so important in terms of the context that he's going to fight. This is his entire, I mean, think about the pomp and circumstance with which he was rolled out. He was the coach. He was all of the women that were his clerks. I mean, he had
his 2 daughters, his wife behind him for the speech when he accepted, and then also at the hearing itself.
Right. I mean, there was just this whole kind of picture-perfect family and life that he presented as he was going forward, and now this is obviously a big potential condemnation on what they were trying to say.
What has to happen, Anna, very quickly before I wrap up here, what has to happen for Kavanaugh to come back and speak again, or for Christine Blasey Ford to come back and speak in front of members of Congress? Like, logistically.
Logistically, I would believe that the Republicans and Democrats would come together and make an agreement behind the scenes that say, we're going to restart these hearings. To have a hearing.
So they would restart the hearing, basically.
Yeah, I don't know if restart's the right word, but they can make a decision to say we are going to have an official Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, and this is who's going to be, this is who's going to be testifying.
Well, we talked about the fast-moving developments this morning, borne out by what we are just learning here in the last 15 minutes. We are going to talk more about this coming up in the show, but we also want to talk about another major